Hello there, men, and welcome to the Masculinism Movement channel, a place for men to be men and talk about masculinity and men's issues. I'm your host, Brian Krall, and today's video is on the concept of the alpha male. As a social scientist, this is something that I have a certain level of expertise on. I've done research into these types of social personalities and the social dominance hierarchy that they are a part of, and I've written a very thorough article on all of the different social personality types in the hierarchy. And even though at the beginning of the channel, in the welcome video, I said I was not going to be talking about any of the alpha male stuff that you see on a lot of channels about masculinity and manliness and such, I do at least want to put out a video on the alpha male to describe what it actually is, because of the fact that there's a lot of confusion out there about what an alpha male is, especially in that whole alpha community. And so I'm going to be reading an excerpt from the article I wrote on the dominance hierarchy and the different types of social personality types in the hierarchy. This is actually just going to be the first part in a three-part series on this topic of the social personality types in the dominance hierarchy. So I'm going to be also doing a video on the sigma male and the beta male, which you can look out for next. But today's video is on the alpha male. Alpha males, as I'm sure you've heard, are very strong, dominant personality types who are very confident and energetic go-getters, who are successful socially, in business, and in most everything they do. They are generally physically fit enough to win physical competitions and are socially aggressive and thus win almost all social competitions as well. They tend to do what they want and get what they want, even if they have to be a bit pushy about it. They are very extroverted, have good social skills, and are likely popular people, which is another part of how they gain their status and win social contests. They generally only intimidate others when they need to, though they certainly can be very intimidating when they need to be. And they will not let themselves be marginalized or trumped by others, much less bullied. They are highly assertive people and will easily become confrontational when they need to and come out on top of that confrontation, as they have no problems defending themselves or others in their circle, especially their women. The only exception to this is with the sigma males, who are the only type of person who can generally ever beat an alpha male, other than a much stronger alpha, of course, which also does happen. The main difference between the alpha male and the sigma male is that the alphas exist within one specific social hierarchy and group, which it is the most dominant member and the authority or leader of. However, his dominance is isolated to that one group and hierarchy or environment and doesn't extend outside of it, as the sigma males does. Once the alpha leaves his social paradigm and enters another, he will oftentimes no longer be the alpha male of that environment. And even within his own social hierarchy, he will have to continue to compete with other members of the environment to maintain alpha status, and will only be alpha for as long as he can win those competitions. Because the alpha male is the highest status authority of his immediate environment and hierarchy or group, it is a coveted position which most males either aspire to be or aspire to be friends with, and which women aspire to mate with. And with his power and authority, the alpha male will lead others in the direction he wants to go, and he will assert himself over the group members as needed for his own interests, and use the group dynamics and resources for his own benefit, much like royalty. Though, again, since he is only the authority of this immediate environment and hierarchy, and does not have social mobility across different ones as the sigma male does, his immediate group and environment is also his prison, which he can never leave. Otherwise, he will lose everything. So he is stuck there in a perpetual struggle to maintain what he had. The alpha male does not have the same type of freedom that the sigma male does, and his social life is a constant struggle to maintain dominance by competing with other alpha males in the environment, and even beta males who are attempting to ascend through the ranks to try to overthrow him and take his place, or worse, the very powerful sigma males that move in from other environments at random times and can instantly overthrow him. So most alpha males are not in dominant positions forever and must fight not only to maintain it, but sometimes to regain it. The ones who are smartest and most ambitious will become sigma males, where they can have more freedom and power with less struggle. For those who only desire to ever remain in their immediate social environment and live in a comfort zone will be stuck there forever, struggling for power with their alpha status within it. In mating, the alpha male gets the most attractive mates within his specific hierarchy and group, and for that reason is usually a polygamous type that will have a harem of beautiful women and will often refuse to settle down with any one due to his sexual abundance, at least until he's of older age. These men are the bad boy player types, who usually have multiple sex partners within one social hierarchy, some of which may be short-term, though others can be longer term, but their relationships will not be too long term while they are in their biological prime for reproductive success. The reproductive success is what the alpha male is designed for by nature, and thus he will often end up with multiple different offspring from more than one sexual partner. But because they are in the same social hierarchy and usually group, the modern alpha male, now with the ability to use contraception, will always make general attempts to limit his procreation, especially since he is not well suited for fatherhood and being in a caregiving and provider role over young offspring, which is more suited for beta males, but more on them later.
Wait a minute. Now a word from our sponsor, me. Do you value the ability to use words to do things such as compose meaningful sentences and speak the truth? Did you know that here in this great country of America, you have the right to free speech? And so do I. And if you don't support people who are exercising that right, then you are probably a fascist dictator. Just like the YouTube algorithm, which stifles the content of patriotic people like me who dare to speak out against the gynocentric, matriarchal, feminist regime that has been aggressively taking over our country. And if YouTube isn't going to promote my content and is going to suppress it instead, I can only rely upon you, my viewers, to show your support. If you don't support free speech, we will stop having it. Which is exactly what is already happening with YouTube videos that censor themselves getting promoted and explicit ones like mine getting shadow banned. So, if you like listening to me use my free speech, make sure to press like and share and donate whatever you can with the PayPal link below. Don't make me work for free and get censored like a fucking communist. And with the presidential election coming up, your donations can literally be used to fund my campaign to get into the White House and abolish the matriarchy once and for all. Literally. Who would you rather have as your president? An old limp dick liberal leftist cuck with noodly arms who's probably never been in a real fight in his life? Or a good old-fashioned, misogynistic, patriarchal man's man like me with balls big enough to stand up to women, and who you can count on to speak out against them and tell it like it is. Fight the feminazi dictatorship. Spread the message of masculinism. Keep my work alive. And now, back to our regularly scheduled content.
And so he will continue his pattern of casual sex with multiple partners until eventually, after decades of sexual activity, he becomes well past his sexual reproductive prime, and through ongoing social success, his market value is now peaking, now that he's in his 40s. At this point, he may often choose to pair bond with a single favored alpha female or high-status beta female. However, this couple will usually not marry, and if they do, it will usually end in divorce, or at least have cheating going on in it, since these types are simply not monogamous, and so exclusive long-term relationships never last with them. And if they have offspring, they more often than not are left with broken homes. In the end, the alpha male will either go back to his life of casual sex, or will become tired of the same social patterns and become a sigma male traveler, or may retire to a lower social status for a more relaxed lifestyle altogether. Professionally, alpha males are most often politicians, CEOs and business owners, executives and board members, supervisors and high-level managers, and other people in leadership roles, as well as athletes and military, which is basically almost entirely made up of alpha males arranging themselves into a hierarchy of different levels. And they can also make very good salesmen and marketers, as well as career criminals in organized crime, in which they are suited to become bosses. Of course, every professional environment will also have its alpha leader of the group or organization, who, though despite his status in that environment, may not actually be generally and predominantly an alpha personality, who will be the alpha of any other environment's hierarchy. Now, there are some misconceptions that some men think about alpha males that just are not true. So I would like to clarify those now. The first is what you see in the whole alpha male community, where you will have these guys who get so focused on being alpha and alpha-ness that they take it to the extreme. And they just basically become overt, and that means being narcissistic, being overly aggressive, maybe a bit psychopathic, right? Animalistic, and, in a sense, primitive. And I'm not saying that, being in touch with your primal instincts or being assertive or aggressive doesn't have its place, right? But what these people are demonstrating is, a superiority complex and narcissistic psychopathy. And it's just not the same as being an alpha male. Being an alpha male is not the same as being an egomaniac. And an alpha male has to be able to be the leader of the group. There's certainly a level of egotism and narcissism and maybe a little bit of a superiority complex that can go along with that. But when it all gets taken to the extreme and the alpha is too aggressive, too animalistic, right? It's not a good thing. Yeah, obviously, there's going to be so much bad that goes along with that. And that's really where the concept of toxic masculinity comes from. When people are talking about toxic masculinity, they're really talking about a type A personality. All right. So being an alpha male is not the same as being a type A personality. Similarly, it is not the same as machismo. All right. This is another thing that people are really talking about when they talk about toxic masculinity. And a lot of men who are trying to be alpha, they end up acting macho and behaving in ways that are just not good. That is a topic for another video, though, which I actually just did previous to this one on purpose because I wanted them to lead into one another. So if you haven't watched the previous video on machismo, make sure you do that. Being an alpha male is it's not the same as any type of narcissism or superiority complex or anything like that. And even the evolutionary psychologist who pioneered the term alpha male and basically is the one who created that whole concept, has stated that people misconceived his work and that alpha is not necessarily synonymous with aggressiveness and bullying and all of those negative aspects of being aggressive that it gets associated with. And men who obsess over being alpha are obviously actually just very insecure, which is why they tend to overdo this because they're being try-hard, right? They're overcompensating. And real alpha males don't worry about how alpha they are being and don't have to try that hard, right? So should you really be that concerned with being an alpha male? No. The lion, for instance, is the king of the jungle, but it actually is usually very relaxed and does not need to be constantly acting aggressive and exerting force to get others to submit. Once positioned at the top of the totem pole, the symbol of his big, beautiful, masculine mane and his occasional roar are all that's really needed, save for the rare instances in which a competition occurs and a beta male tries to step into his place, right? But the lion is generally relaxed. The lion's roar is not excessive. They use it sparingly, but it is heard for miles and lets everyone know who is at the top of the food chain in that environment. And if you like the symbol and analogy of the lion and the king of the jungle, be sure to watch the entire video that I did on that concept, which I will provide the link for below, as that takes a deep dive into the sacred masculine archetype that is the lion as the king of the jungle, which is really a symbol of the alpha male. Now, can a beta male actually become an alpha male? Yes, we have social mobility, just like we have neuroplasticity. So while some aspects of your personality are set in stone, you can change your thinking, which will rewire your brain, and you can change your behavior, which will then change your social dynamics, and thus your social standing and status. You can become less submissive and more dominant, and migrate upwards on the social hierarchy. Not all men are alpha or beta, however. Social personality types and status are not binary. They are a spectrum. You're not either strong or weak, aggressive or passive, dominant or submissive. There are multiple types and levels. Some men are at the same level as alpha males, but are not alpha males and are sigma males. And not all lower tier men are beta males. There's many other types. So to learn more about all of the different types of social personalities on the social hierarchy, click the link below and read that article there, which is very thorough and will teach you everything you need to know about it. And you can also look forward to the next video, which will be about sigma males, the alpha male's only rival in the dominance hierarchy.
That concludes this video. Thanks for listening. I hope I mansplained that good enough for you. If you like what you heard, please click the like button. And if you feel you gained some value from this video and would like to give some back, please do so with the PayPal link below, because your support helps fund me doing this work and fight the good fight for men like you. This has been an article from the social science textbook titled True Life Relationships. Get yours now at the Amazon link below.